Okay, this particular article is a timeline that we had blown up. We were giving posters away several years ago, about 6 years ago, and we just kind of gave a timeline of items, starting with the very first fair in 1853, and we go on and talk about some of the highlighted things that happened in 1853, 1854, 55, 1857. And then we talk down here, we go to like 1891, different things that were maybe happening in the country to give you an idea of where we're at in the timeline of the fair. 1894 is when the first permanent Illinois State Fair was held in Springfield. In 1921, the first woman's automobile-style driving contest is held in Springfield. So a woman actually got to drive a car in the races. We just have different items. 1949, the Illinois governor was Adlai Stevenson. 1961, John F. Kennedy becomes president, is assassinated in 1963. 1963 is when Lyndon Johnson became president. We go on into more current times, just different things that have happened. 1984, the first Twilight Parade is held the night before the fair officially opens. And the Twilight Parade is a huge thing today in 2008. 1990, one of the buildings that's on the fairgrounds, which is 366 acres currently today, the Orr building opened, and they show rabbits in that building, and they also show chickens and other items or articles. 2001, President Bush, and then of course this print was done in 2002, and that's where it stops. But
can you tell us what we're looking at here, Pam?
Sure. This is a display case of items that people have donated. One of them is a fruit display that a woman won when the woman was 15 years old in 1936. And at that time, people would grow their fruit displays and compete with one another. And this particular lady won first place. And the first place prize wasn't cash, wasn't ribbons, it was a ceramic fruit display that you hang on the wall. It has a wire hook on the back. And on the back of that it says Illinois State Fair 1936. And the woman's family grew produce throughout the summer, and she displayed it, and the 15-year-old won it at that time and kept it all that year, all those years. So it must have been an awful lot to her to do that.
That's pretty neat. Do you know what she was growing to win this?
I don't. The woman's daughter who donated just said fruit displays. It could have been grapes, or could have been anything that she grew in her family's garden at that time. It may have been tomatoes or something else that they were growing at that time, and competing with other families and other people. Another item I have in here is 3 small beanie caps. This is an interesting story. The family of this person came to us in the last year, the siblings of Bobby, who passed away. Bobby had kept these beanies all of his life. He won them in 1950, 52, and 53, and he actually had his blue ribbon with these beanies. The picture here is of Bobby and his mother. The mother had 7 children, and to keep those kids busy after school was let out for the year, they were on a mission every day to find a new trinket that was sewn on the beanies. And they competed with other children from the area, I would assume, or in the nearby areas. And his picture showed up in the newspaper when he won first place at age 3. And the mother was so proud of her children, all of her kids. And Bobby passed away, and his siblings brought these beanies in, and it's a treasure to that family. And again, I think that the ribbons are one of my favorite things because it's not just a piece of cloth that has gold print on it. That is a memento that meant something to this person who kept these beanies all of his life for 50 some years until his passing. And the siblings didn't want to see this item just literally thrown away, because if you look at it, you think, well, what in the world is this thing? That's what it is. It meant a lot to this person. So there's a person behind that blue ribbon and a story. And just think of the treasures that he grew up with, the fond memories of his mother helping him sew each and every trinket. There's probably hundreds. There's footballs, cows, fire extinguishers, fish, all kinds of items, coins. And so it meant a lot to that family. And I asked them to write up a story. Whenever anybody donates anything, I ask them to write up the story behind it so that we have this another 100 years from now.
Wow, that's great. Great. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I literally have. Okay. This is a display case of some more ribbons. Again, I really enjoy seeing the different ribbons. There's a lot of them that are handed out, but there's a person behind each and every one of those ribbons. They have a craft, they have a talent, and they've won first, second, third, fourth, or fifth place for an item. These ribbons were donated from a family, a local family that has them from the 1960s and 70s. And they have had them in their barn and they're on their farm, but they decided they wanted them to be displayed here in the museum. So I was glad to see that. I turned one of them around so people could see the back of the ribbon. This is what they usually, put the person's first name behind there. And in this display case, I also have a photograph down here of a grand champion that they probably got one of these ribbons with.
Oh, wow.
Years are not exact, but this one, the photograph is from 1971. Some of the ribbons are from 1961, but the concept is usually the same. It goes, year to year.
Very neat. What's the oldest ribbon you've collected so far?
The one that we recently received from 1899.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. And sadly, if you go on eBay, people are selling these ribbons on eBay.
Oh my gosh.
And we are a nonprofit foundation. We're through the federal government, a 501c3. The money that we raise doesn't go to the state of Illinois, but to our actual private nonprofit foundation. And we don't take the money from that to go out and buy these ribbons. We depend on people to donate them, through their families. But I mean, maybe someday we'll have enough money where we can just throw it around and buy the ribbons. But until then, and mainly I like to get the story behind it. I don't want to buy a ribbon that somebody went to an auction and bought a box of ribbons and they paid $5 and they're trying to sell them on eBay now. They bought a lot of them for $5. I want the story behind the ribbon.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah. Okay. This is an item that we display in the museum. It's an old phone board from the 1940s and 1950s that was used by operators that would sit here, 3 different operators, and as a call would come in, they would pull up whichever line was calling and connect it to the person that they needed to speak with. So instead of cell phones that everyone has today, and everybody has one, it seems like, you had a landline that was somewhere and you would call in and be able to connect to your person. There was a 3-digit code that each section had here on the fairgrounds. And the operators knew how to do it, and they have a listing here of each area or person and their 3-digit code, and they would just connect them.